The small-town diner in Virginia was quiet that morning. The smell of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon floated through the air, mixing with the soft hum of old country music from the radio. Outside, rain tapped gently on the window, streaking across the glass like tears. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. At a corner table sat Ethan Cole, a man in his late 30s. His beard was rough, his eyes tired, and his shoulders slightly hunched. Across from him sat a little girl, maybe 6 years old, with curly brown hair and the same green eyes as her father. "Daddy, can I get pancakes and bacon today?" she asked, swinging her legs under the booth. Ethan smiled faintly. "Only if you promise to eat it all this time, soldier." She saluted him playfully. "Aye, aye, Captain Daddy." That made Ethan chuckle, something he hadn't done much lately. It had been 3 years since he'd left the Navy SEALs, and life after service hadn't been easy. His wife, Emily, had passed away during childbirth, leaving him to raise their daughter, Lily, alone. Every smile he gave was a small victory over the storm inside Dot. As Ethan took a sip of his black coffee, the door opened. The wind pushed in with a gust of rain, and 3 men stepped inside, their postures straight, their jackets pressed, their presence commanding. One of them wore a uniform with stars on his shoulder, the general. The diner quieted for a moment. The waitress, a kind middle-aged woman named Betty, whispered, "That's General Donovan, SEAL Command." Ethan's hand froze halfway to his cup. He knew the name. Everyone in the teams knew it. Donovan had led some of the deadliest operations in the Middle East. The 3 men took a booth near the counter. Laughter and conversation resumed, but Ethan could feel the general's presence like gravity, pulling at memories he buried deep. Betty walked over to Ethan. "You okay, honey?" He nodded. "Yeah, just old ghosts." As she left, Lily tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy, that man has shiny stars on his shoulder." "Is he important?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Yeah, sweetheart. He's someone important." A few minutes later, the waitress brought out Ethan's pancakes and coffee refill. But when she came back from the general's table, she gave Ethan a nervous glance. "The general recognized your SEAL tattoo," she whispered. "He asked who you are." Ethan sighed quietly. "Tell him I'm nobody. Just another name in the sand." But the general didn't take that answer. Moments later, he stood up and walked straight toward Ethan's table. The diner seemed to go silent again. The general's boots stopped a few feet away. "Morning, son," he said. His voice carried the weight of authority, even when calm. "Mind if I sit?" Ethan hesitated, then nodded. The general sat across from him, his eyes scanning the faded trident tattoo on Ethan's forearm. "You served," the general said. "Which unit?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "SEAL Team 4. "Ah," Donovan said, nodding. "Good unit? What was your call sign, son?" The question was casual, even teasing, the kind of thing SEALs asked each other with pride. But something in Ethan's face changed. His expression darkened just slightly, and his eyes, once tired, now looked sharp, almost haunted. He met the general's eyes and said quietly, "Iron Ghost." The general froze. The laughter from the counter faded again. One of his aides stopped mid-sentence. The general's expression shifted, surprise first, then disbelief, then something like respect. "Iron Ghost?" He repeated softly, leaning back. "You're him?" Ethan didn't reply. He just looked out the window, watching the rain fall, his reflection flickering in the glass. For the first time that morning, the general had nothing to say. For a long moment, silence hung between the 2 men. Only the sound of rain tapping against the glass and Lily's soft humming filled the space. General Donovan's eyes didn't leave Ethan. "Iron Ghost?" he said again, almost to himself. "I thought you were gone." Ethan's lips curved into a faint, humorless smile. "Yeah, a lot of people did." The general exhaled slowly, leaning back in his chair. The younger officers behind him exchanged quick glances, whispering to each other. They'd heard the name, Iron Ghost, whispered in stories around sealed bases and debrief rooms. A name spoken like a shadow, belonging to a man who disappeared after a mission that no one talked about. I remember your file, Donovan said. Fallujah, Kandahar, Operation Silent Reef. He paused, searching Ethan's face. You saved an entire squadron when that compound went dark. You went back in alone. Ethan's eyes were distant now. And lost everyone else when I came out. The general's voice softened. That wasn't your fault, son. But Ethan shook his head slowly. Maybe not. But the ghosts don't care who's to blame. Lily looked up at them with curious eyes, not understanding, only sensing the heaviness in her father's tone. Daddy, are you okay? Ethan smiled down at her. I'm fine, sweetheart. Just talking old stories. Donovan studied her for a moment, the small girl in the pink raincoat smiling up at her father like he was her whole world. Then he looked back at Ethan, his voice quieter. You've got a family now. Just her, Ethan said simply. Her mom's gone. Something in the general's stern face softened. I'm sorry. Ethan nodded once. Me too. The general took a slow breath, as if weighing his next words. You know, the teens still talk about you. Some of the young guys think you're a myth. The one-man rescue in Bagram. The insurgent camp at Coast. Iron Ghost, who disappeared into the smoke and never came back. Ethan's jaw clenched. I came back. Just not the same man. The general nodded. No one ever does. They sat in silence for a few seconds. Then Donovan asked quietly, Why'd you leave without debrief? Without saying a word to anyone? Ethan looked down at his hands, scarred, steady, the hands of a man who'd held too much weight. Because there was nothing left to say. After that last op, after my brothers didn't make it, I didn't belong there anymore. And when Emily died, he paused, voice breaking slightly. I just wanted to give my daughter something normal. No more uniforms. No more death. The general's gaze softened with understanding. He'd seen hundreds of men like Ethan, broken, trying to rebuild. But there was something different about this one. The pain in his eyes wasn't just loss. It was survival. Normal's not easy for people like us, Donovan said quietly. Ethan gave a small smile. Yeah, I'm learning that. Then the general straightened a bit, as if remembering where he was. Cole, the Navy never officially closed your file. Technically, you're still on record as inactive. You could come back. You'd have command's full respect. Men would follow you into hell again. Ethan looked up sharply. You think I want that? Donovan didn't flinch. No, but I think the world could still use men like you. Ethan looked away, out at the gray morning beyond the glass. The world's full of men like me, General. You just don't see them. They're the ones driving trucks, building houses, tucking kids into bed, trying to be something other than soldiers. The general nodded slowly, letting the truth settle between them. Then Lily giggled suddenly, breaking the tension. She held up her napkin, now folded into a messy paper airplane. Daddy, look. It can fly. Ethan smiled, eyes softening again. Just like you, little bird. Donovan watched that small, tender moment, the hardened warrior and his daughter, light shining through the storm. Then he stood up, straightening his jacket. Cole, he said quietly, you ever need anything, you reach out to me directly. Understood? Ethan hesitated, then extended his hand. The general shook it firmly. For a second, neither of them was a superior or subordinate, just two soldiers who understood each other. Take care of her, the general said. Always, Ethan replied as the general turned to leave. One of his young aides whispered, Sir. Who was he really? Donovan didn't look back. He just said, almost under his breath, he was the ghost who saved us all. Outside, the rain began to ease. Ethan picked up Lily's paper airplane and watched it glide softly onto the diner table. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to breathe a little easier. Maybe ghosts can rest When they finally find something worth living for. That night, long after Lily had fallen asleep clutching her stuffed rabbit, Ethan sat alone on the porch of their small rented house. The soft chirp of crickets filled the air, and the faint orange glow of a nearby streetlight flickered across his weathered face. He cradled a mug of coffee, now gone cold, staring out into the darkness. His mind wasn't in Virginia anymore. It was somewhere far away, back in the dust and fire of a desert half a world away. He could still hear the radio chatter, the gunfire, the last cries of his brothers as the compound burned. "Iron Ghost, fall back! That's an order!" The words echoed faintly in his head. Even now, he never did fall back. He went in alone, Dot, and only one man walked out alive. He rubbed his thumb over the scar that ran down his wrist, the reminder of that night. Every time he tried to move on, that memory followed him, just like the name the SEALs had given him, Iron Ghost. He had been called that not because he was invincible, but because he survived what no one else could. And sometimes, survival was its own kind of curse. A soft sound pulled him from his thoughts, the creak of the porch step. "Daddy?" Ethan turned to see Lily, sleepy-eyed, holding her blanket. "Can't sleep again?" She shook her head and climbed into his lap, her small hands clutching his shirt. "You were sad again," she whispered. He wrapped his arms around her gently. "Just thinking, sweetheart. That's all. About Mommy?" "Yeah, and some old friends." She looked up at him with wide eyes. "Are they with Mommy now?" Ethan's throat tightened. "Yeah, baby. I think so." She rested her head against his chest. "Then they're not gone, Daddy. They're just somewhere warm." He smiled faintly, tears stinging his eyes. "Yeah, somewhere warm." The next morning, as the sun rose over the quiet street, Ethan opened his mailbox. Inside was a single envelope marked with the Navy SEAL insignia. No return address. Just a seal. He hesitated, then tore it open. Inside was a handwritten note on official letterhead. "Cole, the world doesn't stop needing men who do what's right, even when no one's watching. I know you've chosen peace, and I respect that. But if you ever find yourself lost again, there's a way back. We're starting a new unit, focused on veteran rehabilitation and field mentorship. No weapons, no missions, just rebuilding lives. You'll be perfect for it. I'll leave the choice to you. But something tells me Iron Ghost isn't done making a difference." Donovan Ethan stared at the letter for a long time. The paper felt heavy, like it carried the weight of all his years in uniform. He folded it carefully and placed it back in the envelope. He didn't know what his answer would be, not yet, but something stirred inside him. For the first time in years, it wasn't guilt or grief. It was purpose. That evening, Ethan and Lily drove to the local park. She laughed as she ran across the grass, chasing her paper airplane that she brought from the diner. He watched her, the way her hair bounced in the light, the joy that came so naturally to her. Then he noticed a group of young veterans sitting nearby, quiet, withdrawn, eyes empty. He recognized the look instantly. He'd seen it in the mirror for years. He walked over slowly. "Mind if I join you guys?" One of them looked up, surprised. "You a vet?" Ethan nodded. "Yeah, SEALs, a long time ago." They exchanged glances, a mix of curiosity and respect. "Name's Cole," he said, offering a hand. Then, with a faint grin, he added, "But back in the day, they called me Iron Ghost." The men froze for a moment, the same way Donovan had. Then one of them smiled. "You're kidding. That Iron Ghost?" Ethan chuckled softly. "That's what they used to say. Now I'm just a dad trying to help other guys find their footing." The young veteran's eyes softened. "We could use that." Ethan nodded. "Yeah, need to." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Ethan watched Lily chase her paper airplane one last time. It caught the wind, soaring high, gliding longer than before, as if finally free. He smiled. The ghosts inside him were still there, but they weren't as loud now. Maybe healing wasn't about forgetting. Maybe it was about using the pain to build something better. And for the first time in years, Ethan Cole Iron Ghost didn't feel like a man running from the past. He felt like a man finally stepping toward the future. Thanks for watching till the very end. I put a lot of heart into sharing stories like this, and if it connected with you in any way, I'd love to know. Drop a comment, hit like, maybe share it with someone who get it too. You being here honestly means the world.